Right, there we go. I think we are live. I think.
I think we are. Yes.
Very good. Very good. There we go. And hopefully the visuals are now working.
Back on the raspberry milk stout at the weekend, Andy.
Raspberry milk stout.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like an acquired taste.
That's nice.
Isn't it?
It's a very, very dark stout. With
I'm not a big,
You're not a
I'm
stout
not a big fan of raspberries. No, I love stout. Raspberries, not so much.
It's not. It won't over. It's not overpowering. It's just. It's in the background.
No, okay.
Mm.
Oh, we're all very quiet.
Yes,
It's
very,
the calm before the storm.
Yes,
isn't
it's
it?
very unfortunate on an audio-based podcast, isn't it? It could be a problem.
I'm just looking at this very large box of cables behind me, thinking, have I got everything? Do I need to order another thingy from Amazon?
I've been, ironically, this week, Nev, I've been doing exactly the same into a flight case so that I've got everything I need.
I love that it says box on the side of it, just so that you know that it really is a box.
I mean, to be fair, if anybody spent any more than about 10 minutes with me, they'll know how forgetful I am. So, and shape recognition is not something I'm fantastically good at either. So it's, yes, not ideal.
Yes, we'll turn up with far too much of everything.
Yeah, that's how it needs to be.
We'll use a quarter of it.
Yeah, don't care.
But you never know. Things do happen sometimes, don't they? So, we need to cater for all eventualities. Speaking of catering, I've just organised that today as well.
Oh, have you?
We'll talk about that a bit later on.
Ooh.
They gave me a very large menu to choose from for our lunch.
Ooh.
For our guests. So I've had to be... Well, I obviously I didn't do it myself because that would be a bit irresponsible. So Mrs. Nev very kindly assisted me in making sensible choices for those who are vegetarian and vegan and who are not as well. So that's quite good. So
Absolutely.
if you don't like the food...
Right, it's entirely Nev's fault, yes.
No, it's her fault.
We're not blaming Mrs. Nev for anything. We're praising her for her continued patience.
I think she'd be, with respect to everybody else, I think she'd be quite glad when the 600 show's over.
Fair, yeah.
Because I've been a bit of a nightmare the last, 6 weeks or so.
Fair.
Anyway.
Tanya says there's bound to be one connector you've forgotten. Well, no, Mazouz said that. Sorry, Mazouz said there's bound to be one connection you've forgotten. Well, Mazouz, don't panic, because I'm sure you'll bring a spare one.
Yeah, well, quite, yeah.
Whatever
absolutely.
that may be.
Yeah, quite. Yeah. Yeah. I was programming the router this week, ready for plugging straight into the system and stuff. Getting all my IP address ranges all sorted and things like that. All things that are no interest to anyone else.
But it's a big time saver rather than him to do it on the day, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Got all the bases covered.
Yeah, well, I mean, in many ways, one of the advantages is because this is the one of many outside broadcasts that Nev and I have done, and I've done a number of ones to do with radio and stuff as well. So hopefully that experience will pay dividends on the day. Yes, and I'm very much looking forward to going up the night before as well. I'm so pleased I sort of invested in an extra night. I'm really pleased.
I'm quite envious of that, actually. I feel like I probably should have done the same.
Yeah. I just thought it'd be quite nice to sort of, just have not a leisurely start. I mean, we've still got to start at 8, but getting up at 7 is very different to getting up at sort of 4, half 4, isn't it? To head up to Cambridge, down to Cambridge. Sorry for us.
Yes.
Apologies. Geography's not a strong point either. The good news is my car goes to Duxford on autopilot. Because because that's where Owen and I always used to go every time he was on a layover or whatever. We used to go to Duxford. So yeah. On one occasion where I got it so wrong that we were heading towards Newmarket, I'd missed the turning basically, and it was Owen was the one that realised that I'd missed the turning and said, "Shouldn't we have got turned off a while ago?"
It's just as well we don't have to travel on the A11 because that was an absolute nightmare this morning.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, all that traffic that's been there till 2027, isn't it?
Oh.
On the A47, they're doing all that.
That bit, yeah,
stuff, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all the Norwich end, though, isn't it?
Yeah. That took me 42 minutes to go 12 miles.
Oh gosh. Gosh, that is a long time. You must have been getting really angry because I know what you're like. You're not exactly. You're not exactly the most patient of people. You're not very patient, bless you.
No.
Short.
But I got to my training course on time, which is good. In the St John's Ambulance Training School.
Oh, how exciting!
Learned how to put a fire out, and then came home
by St John Ambulance. Wow.
Multitasking these days, you see.
Clearly.
Cutbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. That was
they
a shocker.
do all manner of different courses. I done my first aid course there a few years ago in the same class. This one was a fire marshal course, so I can evacuate the building now.
Okay. Is there a bit more to it than saying, "Hey, everybody out, go, 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 go"? Is there more to it than that?
Well, there is, yeah.
Is there? Right. Okay.
They did. The guy at the end did make a point of saying, doing this course does not mean you're now a firefighter.
Right. Here we are. Good luck, everyone.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Welcome to episode 598.5 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this week's show, UK refineries are asked to maximise jet fuel production amid ongoing supply fears. The UK Labour government are under pressure to tackle airport parking charges with new rules amid spiralling costs. And one man is injured after a United 767 hits his delivery truck whilst landing in Newark. As usual, we have a special military segment from Armando, and he continues to explain the air operations to US during the US-Iran war. And Retro Airline ad of the week. This week we go back to 1983 and to an airline that's taking you to Europe for a bargain. And then just for a change this week, we go all SNL and comedy for an alternative airline ad. So it's just over 2 weeks to go until our 600th show. So Nev will give us an update as to how we are getting on with the preparations. And the update this week, I think, is very much food related. Hey, Nev.
Woohoo!
So, as the tune plays quite loudly there in my ears, there we go. Welcome, as always, back with us this week across the lovely sunny fields. I think it's sunny. Yeah, it's a little bit cloudy out there now, but it was sunny earlier. Mr. Bounds. Hello, Nev.
Oh, yes, here we are. Yeah, all good here. Thank you very much. Lots been going on today with, as you say, food selection, cable selection, you name it. I've been doing it, but with some help from Mrs. Nev as well on the food side of it, because that's an area I'm not qualified in, really. But no, all good. Thank you very much. Not long to go until the big day. As Mark says in the chat room, hard to believe that we're on episode 598 and a half. It's really not long to go at all. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Been in a lot of communication with the Imperial War Museum today, who've sent me an extremely long questionnaire to fill out about what our needs are for the day. I mean, they know what it is anyway, but we have to confirm it all. But no, it's all great, coming together very nicely.
Now, last week, Nev, we were talking on the show about the change or the big faux pas at BA with their points kind of thing and the tiering and all that kind of thing. Now, you've got an update, haven't you, Nev, about where you are now currently on the BA board of fun? Well,
yes, of course, I'd like to say, well, they've just given me gold for life because that's the kind of guy I am. But no, it's the slippery slope has begun down to silver. At least I've managed to retain that for the next year. So at least I've still got lounge access, even if I buy an economy fare. But yeah, I'll never be able to retain silver, I don't think, this year because I'm just not doing the flying, obviously. So yeah, but that's happening to a lot of people, even the business travellers that I know and keep in touch with as well. They're all losing their status, or they're swapping statuses to other airlines and other systems, and other schemes. So yeah, that's unfortunately, it'll be interesting to see how that affects BA's revenue over the next 12 months, especially as we've got all this Middle East war weirdness going on as well. So yeah, let's see where we are in a year from now.
And across the field here, only one or two fields between me and you, is of course Matt Smith.
Indeed, well, there's a few more fields between you and me than there were.
Oh yes,
indeed. But yeah, hello. I thought I'd change my angle today. There we go, a slightly different angle.
It's a slightly different angle, different viewpoint there.
Yeah, why not? Yeah,
very nice.
You can see the desk and everything. There we are. Yeah.
Mr. Warner just needs to send you a refreshed picture for your green screen.
Oh, my phone will go off any minute now, won't it?
Yeah, hopefully.
Right. Oh, thanks.
We like doing things.
I like that picture. I like that picture.
No, good to see you on as always, Mr. Smith. I tell you, it's cooled down a bit there in the PTUK Master Suite Studios. It's a bit.
I've got the window shut. It's positively chilly tonight. So yes, I've got the window shut.
And joining us as well this week, someone who doesn't bother about economy, premium, business, or first, because he sits in the best seat in the house. It is, of course, our resident A320 captain, sim training captain. It's Captain Andy.
Hello, back where I belong, in the pub, back home.
It doesn't seem right that you haven't got a hotel background, Andy.
It's lovely that I'm not in a hotel this week. I've been in hotels for weeks on end, so it's very nice to be home. And it is very chilly up here as well. I've even got the heating on in here tonight to try and warm it up a bit.
Oh, wow.
But the beer is still cold.
It is, but
cold.
The beer is always cold, yes. So what sort of publican would I be? Not that it's open to the public. What sort of landlord would I be if I didn't have cold beer?
What's the beer of tap choice this week, Andy?
On at the moment is Camden Hells. Which is a nice little lager. But there's not much of it left after the weekend, sadly.
Quite right.
Well, it was bank holiday, wasn't it?
It was,
enjoy a couple.
Absolutely.
It was.
In the typical bank holiday weather of torrential rain.
Yeah, well, there is that. Yes, absolutely.
But that means go to the pub.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Straight to the bottom of my garden.
True
Fabulous.
enough. Yeah. True enough.
There we go. And also joining us this week, back again in a lovely part of the UK, is, of course, Nick.
Evening, Carlos.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. Yourself?
Yes, good. Looks nice and sunny through the wall, sort of bright through the window there where you are, Nick.
It's a bit murky today, but it's not raining it, so we'll take it. Although this talk of beer has just made me realise I haven't got my customary Guinness on the go, so I might
outrageous.
have to quickly nip down to the fridge in a second.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. It's a meal, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
I do love Guinness.
Yeah, it is nice.
I do love Guinness.
It's always best in Ireland, though. Just saying.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I do need to make a trip over there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
While the prices are nice and cheap.
Yeah, right.
Just don't go and buy a pint of Guinness at Temple Bar. Otherwise, you'll need a.
I must say, back in the day, and I'm now going back a very long time. The first time I went to Dublin, which was probably 1985, 1986 for business, I was always impressed with how inexpensive it was there. My goodness, how times have changed with food and drink prices and hospitality prices in Dublin. They are sky high these days.
Yeah, I got some friends there this week actually, and they were they knew it was going to be expensive, but I don't think they'd sort of bargained for how expensive it is. But they're having a lovely time despite that. Every picture that they've sent me so far has involved a pint of Guinness. They're a couple of classy birds. They really are.
The cheap end of Ireland, we found it was around about €7 a pint, and then the Temple Bar side of Dublin was hitting the €9 a pint.
Wow,
for Guinness, yeah,
blimey.
I'm sure Darren Smith will tell us exactly how much you would pay in Norway for a pint of any kind of beer. That's probably 14 quid or something like that.
Yeah, true enough, yeah.
Oh, near bank loan.
Yeah.
That's what that would be. Right. So it is the beginning of the fresh month of May. It is the 6th of May. And as it is the beginning of the month, we have to say a special thank you to some awesome people, don't we, Nev?
We do, and we very much like doing so as well. So thank you very much to the people that have donated by Patreon during the last month. That is Richard Adams, Derek Smith, Bill Aronek, Sam Dawson, Alex Robinson, Dirk S, Sasha Beer, Stephen Ivey, Nick Codling, Lewis Kashares, Alan White, Stephen Howland, Tanya Wyman, Nicholas Hewitt, Masha Hertz, Ruben Wells, Neil Lanwarn, Graham Haley, Jonathan Warner, Jordan Rose, Andrew Wilson, Captain Jeff, Adam Spink, Liz Piper, Jeff Ward, Stuart Backer, Stephanie Plummer, Carl S, John Falk and Sturman. And the people that have paid us by PayPal are Jenny Parkinson and Mazuz Kareem. Thank you, one and all. You make a massive difference to how we fund the show, particularly those streaming companies are putting up their prices all the time, I've noticed these days as well. So I'm not asking for any more money, but I'm just saying thank you for what you donate. It makes a massive difference to us.
Yes, it does indeed. And thank you to you all very much indeed. And also thanks to everyone who subscribed to the channel, because that all helps. Every little helps. Every little helps. Right, we're going to say a quick hello to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. Going to go at the top of the list. First in was Richard Adams. You beat Mazus in. Well done, Richard. Mazus is in there as well. Good evening to you. We've got Tanya. Hello to you. Good evening. And scrolling down, Nick Codling's in there. Good to see you in there, Nick. John Falk. He says, evening, everyone. All of you busy chatting already, he says. Bill's in there. Hello to you. He's scrolling down here. And Masha. Hello to Masha. Good to see you in the chat room. Mark Priestley says, good evening, all. Cannot believe we are at 598.5. And we've got John Falk, Jennifer. Jennifer, we haven't seen Jen in the chat room for a long while, have we, guys? Hello, Jen. Good to see you in the chat room. Darren Smith, good evening. Scoffreyjet1 joined just in time to hear my name. Hi, all, says. Hello to you. And welcome to everyone who's joined us on the show tonight. Loads to get through, as Nev was saying, including that Retro Airline ad. A bit of a different Retro Airline ad this week. We've got one advert, and then we've got a slightly different retro kind of airline advert to show you this week, which should hopefully make you all laugh when you see it. Right, let's do some commercial news. Is everyone ready?
The captain
Let's go.
has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
First story this week comes from theguardian.com, and headline: UK refineries asked to maximise jet fuel production amid supply fears. British refiners have been asked this week to maximise jet fuel supplies as part of a government contingency of planning amid growing fears of the Iran war that will force planes to be grounded. The Energy Minister, Michael Shanks, said the UK government is closely monitoring jet fuel stocks and working with airlines, airports, fuel suppliers and other governments as carriers face rocketing fuel costs as a result of the conflict. Normal flows of fossil fuels from the Gulf had effectively been at a standstill since the war broke out after the de facto closure of the important shipping channel, the Strait of Hormuz, though which a fifth of the world's oil and gas flows. UK airlines typically buy fuel months in advance, and aviation fuel suppliers hold bunkered stocks. The UK imports jet fuel supplies from a range of countries, not reliant on the Strait, including the United States, wrote Shanks in a ministerial statement. UK airlines have stated that the airlines continue to operate normally and are not expecting issues with jet fuel supplies. The government also continues to work with partners to monitor and mitigate potential disruptions, Shanks added. There are now only 4 remaining refineries in the UK after closures at the Grangemouth and Lindsey refineries back in 2025. The remaining UK refineries are Fawley in Hampshire, owned by ExxonMobil, Humber in Lincolnshire, owned by Phillips 66, Valero's Pembroke refinery in Wales, and SR's Stanlow site in Cheshire. These sites produce a range of refined products, including petrol, diesel, jet fuel, fuel oil to meet domestic demand and for export. And the number of UK refineries has fallen from its peak of 18 back in the 1970s, as has the UK's output of petrol and diesel. It's come as global jet fuel supplies fall to the lowest recorded levels last week. Just under 2.3 million tonnes of jet fuel and kerosene were transported on ships in the 7 days to the 26th of April, according to initial analysts by the data company Kepler, which began first tracking shipments back in 2017. The figure represents less than half the average weekly volume shipped before the war, but airlines have insisted there are now no supply problems expected during the typical 4 to 6 week horizon. However, some carriers have already announced flight cancellations and have been lobbying for governmental help amid rising fuel prices and possibly fuel supply crisis. So almost 19 million passengers travelled through airports during the first 3 months of the year, an increase of 3.7 compared with a year earlier over at London Heathrow. Heathrow said it had temporarily absorbed demand from elsewhere, but did not expect this to continue for the rest of the year, given the significant uncertainty in the region. So, as I always say every week at the moment, as long as that gets me to Malta in June, I'll be happy.
I'm not. I have to say, I read and I try and digest all this information that's coming out, and it's just all over the shop. You've got travel experts, and you know who you are, don't you? Saying that there's no crisis on one day, and there is a crisis on the next day, and I think airlines fiddle around with their schedules anyway in terms of capacity and revenue and all the rest of it. I also heard this week that particular correspondent saying that airlines are going to prioritise holiday travel over business travel. I don't think so. Not with the revenue that the business travel brings in, especially in the premium seats, for Asia and the North Atlantic, for example. So as much as we talk about it, I don't think anyone has got a really sensible picture of what this all means and whether there is an issue or not, or whether it's a bit of an excuse perhaps for some airlines to get the cuts in early because they wanted to trim a bit off the schedule anyway. I really don't know.
It could be a combination of that, Nev. As you said about the data here as well, I've seen all sorts of stuff in the past week, and it appears to me mainly that it's long-haul airlines that are most affected. It's got nothing to do with the fuel. It's the fact that they can't find an efficient way to fly around that area. So what's the point in flying it when you'd just be wasting the fuel going several track miles away. Because if you think about that part of the world, not many people want to fly into Russia. You've also got Ukraine nearby as well. It's a whole danger area there where anything could happen. And it's best not to fly through. I see as well, it says there in the story that Jet2 have come out and said we've got 87% of our fuel requirement sorted for the peak summer. We've hedged it. Those suppliers will supply it. That won't be an issue. So again, I do think there's a lot of, we can thin the schedule here where we've got flights that aren't performing, like you said, Nev, and we can use that. But they've got to play a thin line here of, oh no, we're cancelling flights, but we've got plenty of fuel. So why are you cancelling them? Be honest.
I mean, yeah. The only thing, again, somebody who doesn't really understand the industry, I never have, I probably never will, the bit that from an outsider looking in, if you like, Mr. Joe Public, which is my role on this show, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's Mr. Bang average. The problem for me is that there's been alterations in legislation by the government this week to allow. I didn't realise they weren't. I didn't realise there were very strict rules about how. Like cutting flights and all that kind of thing was like legislated in some way, which yeah. First of all, that took me quite a bit by surprise. I didn't realise that was genuinely a thing. But also, and I fully get where like you and Never and everything are all coming from, and I would trust you over any government source any day. I'll be brutally honest, but I do think, from my perspective, it's significant that suddenly the government has come out saying about, sort of making alterations to legislation so that flights can be cut if they need to be.
Yeah, well, they did this back in the pandemic, so it's all about slot control. And of course, back then, they really couldn't fly. So they were allowed to, if you have a slot into an airport, especially a prime time one, let's say an arrival into Heathrow at 7 a.m., that is an expensive slot. That there's a separate company that actually runs all of the slots for all the major airports in the UK, and there's a bidding process. And if you don't use it, so basically you bought that just to block somebody else from using it, that's not allowed. They go, we're taking that back now. You need to have used it X percentage of the time that you had it, and you haven't, and you're in breach of your contract. We'll have it back now, and you get no money back. Thank you very much. We're going to sell it to somebody else. Because it does two things. It creates the revenue from the slots, and it stops monopolies. But I can see why on these routes where, say I was talking about, it's very dangerous to fly through that part of the world. These airlines are going, look, we don't want to stop flying this route. The second we can, we're going to come back and do it, and we're going to be landing on that 7 a.m. slot in Heathrow from Dubai or wherever. Please, can you find a way that we can actually keep this slot? And like I said, they've done it in the pandemic before, so the legislation's there for them to be able to switch it around as and when needed. So again, I don't think it's that much of a biggie. I think it's to stop the aftermath of this, where the airlines don't have the slots anymore because of the way the rules worked.
Yeah, I guess that's the problem, isn't it? I'm an advantage in the fact that I sit and involved in this show, and that's the concern, because that message is not what's going out through the media, if you see what I mean. So me, Mr. Bang Average, is like thinking, well, there must be something in it if the government is making these alterations. But your explanation obviously makes perfect sense. So why isn't that the narrative that the so-called media experts are peddling, rather than, frankly, what we're hearing even by our supposed most trusted broadcasters? That's a worry.
Well, I don't know what to say on that front. Everything's about shock and awe these days, isn't it? And look how bad it all is. It's not that bad, really. This is quite normal for the industry.
Of course, we all know what will happen next week. We'll be panic buying toilet rolls
and pasta.
Yeah.
It's all right. The good news is,
don't get the two things mixed up.
No,
I've still got 2,000 toilet rolls in the garage for the pandemic. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, no, same here, and pasta. I've got a fireplace full of it. Yeah.
Sorry, Nick. Were you going to say you've also got a stash of toilet rolls down in Devon?
No, I'm fairly normal stocks of toilet rolls, I think. No, I think for me, I probably represent the worry of an awful lot of people that, having just booked a holiday that involves me going on an aeroplane, I want to make sure that it's going to actually happen. And I would imagine there's an awful lot of people out there that are quite concerned about that. And as Nev has said, it's it's very hard to get any degree of accurate information, and you sort of begin to wonder actually how much of this is just kind of headline grabbing and trying to lure people in with sensationalism.
Of course, Martin Lewis did say this week on the old telly box that we're talking about insurance companies, and obviously most people have travel insurance when they go abroad, and he was saying that for people who like me, because I do it, book the flights, book the places where you stay, hotel or apartments separate, and everything things like that. He was saying that all but 2 insurance companies, I think he said, 2 insurance companies here in the UK will reimburse you if your flight is cancelled and you can't go on holiday. There's only 2 insurance companies who will give you the loss of your money you paid for the hotel back. The rest of them, you won't get any money back for the price you pay for your hotel, because, as he was saying, it's not the fault of the hotel that you couldn't get there. It's the airline's fault. So as far as the hotel's concerned, it's still there available for you, but you just can't get there. So it's worth looking at your holiday insurance before you go on holiday to see if you are and if you're not covered. Whereas with the package deal, when you go on the package holidays, like with the likes of Jet2 and EasyJet holidays, you are covered, essentially, if anything goes wrong. So yeah, worth looking at. Matt, next story for you, and it was sad news this week from the US.
Indeed, and I think it's safe to say that this airline has been in quite a lot of trouble for quite some time, hasn't it, sadly? Oh no, sorry, it's not the one I thought it was. Do apologise. It's, I think, oh, hang on. Bear with me a moment. My machine is just frozen, so just give me 2 seconds. There we go, it's coming back now, my apologies. Yes, it's sort of been hitting the headlines, understandably, this week, and the headline, as you know, as I say, it's an airline I think that's been in trouble for a little while. The headline is Spirit Airlines shutting down after rescue talks have now collapsed. The source on this is the bbc.co.uk, and Spirit Airlines is shutting down after failing to secure a $500 million, that's £368 million bailout from the Trump administration. The budget airline was in talks with the US government about a rescue deal that would have saved it from going out of business, but discussions collapsed, and the carrier said in an announcement on its website on Saturday that with great disappointment it had started an orderly wind down of their operations effective immediately. That included cancelling all of its flights, stranding many passengers and workers. Spirit was emerging from its second bankruptcy filing in recent years before the US-Israel war in Iran, but the resulting surge in jet fuel costs pushed it over the brink. The passengers reported receiving messages about the cancellations, but some still arrived at the airport in the morning with their back luggage. Spirit's customer service is no longer available. The airline said that it would automatically process refunds for flights purchased through Spirit with a credit or debit card to the original form of payment, but a bankruptcy court will determine how to compensate those who book flights using a voucher, credit or airline points. Those who used a travel agent should contact the agent, it also said. It also said it could not reimburse guests for emergency hotel stays or replacement flights. In the statement, Spirit CEO Dave Davis said that in March 2026 we reached an agreement with our bondholders on a restructuring plan that would have allowed us to emerge as a go-forward business. However, the sudden and sustained rise in fuel prices in recent weeks ultimately has left us with no alternative but to pursue an orderly wind down of the company. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy on Saturday, though, disputed that account, saying that Spirit's demise was not the result of fuel price increases, which are largely due to the war in Iran. Spirit was in dire straits long before the war with Iran, Duffy said, citing the company's multiple bankruptcy filings in a news conference at Newark Liberty International Airport. Their model wasn't working, he added. The war was not the impetus. Other US airlines, including Delta Airlines, United Airlines, American Airlines and Frontier Airlines, have stepped in to offer rescue fares to stranded Spirit customers. Fuel costs can make up as much as 40% of an airline's outgoings, and airlines have seen the cost of jet fuel double since the US and Israeli strikes began at the end of February. The airline analysts and the investment bank said that Raymond James said that spiralling jet fuel costs in the wake of the Iran war had proved the final nail in the coffin for Spirit. Speaking to the BBC, Sith said that the operator had shied away from the radical overhaul it needed during a 2024 bankruptcy procedure. The IM union said that it would be providing additional support to its members affected by Spirit's shutdown and urged the airline's leadership and the bankruptcy court to ensure that every worker receives the full severance, back pay and benefits they are owed. I mean, it is very, very sad. It's a very iconic airline. I don't know if anybody saw on socials that little. There was a little picture. I think it was an AI picture where all of the other various airliners were all there, sort of comforting the Spirit airline thing. It is a shame. I do think I mean, the low cost model has never really worked in the US, has it? Not like Ryanair here. Do you know what I mean? It just hasn't been. It just doesn't seem to have ever got the traction, if you like. And you'd have thought somewhere like America, where you need, where travel is king, you'd think that would be okay. You'd think it'd be something that'd be popular. Do you know what I mean?
Dirk Guest makes a good point in the chat room. Says it's sorry for the employees. It's never about the company or the brand. It's about the people who made the airline what it was.
Yeah, true enough. True enough. I'm just going to run through some of the comments in the chat room, if that's okay, Nev. I'll start obviously with John's. If you could go back as well, I'd be grateful. So I think the 40% quote for fuel sounds too high. That's interesting. That's John's take on it. I think Jennifer was the one previously. If you could pop that up for me, Nev, thank you. They declared bankruptcy twice in less than 2 years. A very bad sign. Lots of airports and others will be out a fair amount of money in fees. Yeah, that's very true. And because it said on the end of the story there, the bit that worried, the full severance thing, you'd sort of expect that, but the word back pay sort of rather implies that perhaps employees have sort of not been paid perhaps for a month or so, and benefits they're owed as well. And I think there was one more before that, Nev. I can't remember. I might be. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Dirk is saying sorry for the employees. It's never about the company or the brand. It's about the people who made the airline what it was. And that, as I say, that's sort of ticks the box. Richard Adams saying that I wonder if fuel costs were the genuine primary reason or just a convenient contributing reason for an already sick business, which is certainly what's being implied by the airline analyst from the investment bank, Raymond James. Sort of agree with you on that one. And it was Tanya, I think, was saying that she was saying that she'd flown with them a number of times and found them, quite a nice little airline to fly with. But some great comments there, guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it was sad to see the news when it broke. But like I was saying to Nev earlier, with Spirit having, I think it's an all Airbus fleet. I'd like to think that a lot of the crews and the pilots, especially and stuff, will be able to find employment elsewhere in the US, because there are many, obviously, as we know, a lot of airlines in the US that fly the Airbus, that use the A320s and 321s. But I don't know what you think, Andy, whether it'll be just a case that these pilots can go and jump in with another airline.
If the need for them is there, then yeah, absolutely, they'll be absolutely swallowed up. And I think there is always a need in the US anyway. And it was another thing that really killed them was the Pratt and Whitney issue. Do you remember we reported on it several times over many years, where they had all the aircraft parked up, no engines on them because of all the issues with the engine, and that'll have caused them to hemorrhage money as well. To John's comment about fuel potentially making up to 40% of an airline's outgoings, yeah, it really can, especially at times like this where it's expensive. Fuel is the biggest cost to any airline. It's not the airframes, it's not the people, it's the fuel. Always.
Yeah. Well,
Very sad,
as you
isn't
say,
it? Not
fingers
too worried about
crossed.
it.
But we have got an and finally story at the end of the commercial news, which is quite a nice little kind of, quite a nice feel-good story. So that's coming up in a moment. Nev, we're looking at something different, the top 10.
Yes, we've got some more tales of woe, I'm afraid. It's on the mirror.co.uk, and it says that new research from AirAdvisor ranked Manchester Airport in the UK as the worst airport in Europe for hour-long flight delays. The airline comparison experts analysed data from 9,594,711 flights across 46 European airports in 2025 to reveal results based on the percentage of flights delayed by 60 minutes or more, weighted at 70%, and the average length of those delays weighted at 30%. This saw Manchester take the top spot with 6.16% of its flights delayed by 60 minutes or more in 2025 and an average delay of 116.7 minutes, which amounts to almost 2 hours. Even I knew that, and I didn't get a maths O-level. AirAdvisor Air Data found that the routes from Manchester most prone to delays were Amsterdam Schiphol, Paris Charles de Gaulle and Dublin. Well, I'm not surprised about that because that's all pretty short sectors and that's where things can start going wrong. You pick up a delay earlier in the day and you never get it back, by the time the shift's finished. Anyway, a Manchester Airport spokesman told the Mirror, this analysis of the Civil Aviation Authority's data is misleading as it ignores important context which is directly referenced by the CAA in the notes accompanying the research and in the research itself. Punctuality is affected by factors that are outside of an airport's control. The two most significant factors contributing to delays in the last year have been industrial action affecting air traffic control in Europe, France, and the weather. These were exacerbated by airspace restrictions above conflict zones, meaning airports with significant long-haul networks like Manchester were more significantly affected than others. As an industry, we are working collectively to achieve the best possible on-time departure rates whilst protecting flight schedules and avoiding the need for cancellations. But it wasn't just Manchester that found itself named amongst the worst. Birmingham, London Gatwick and London Stansted also joined the airport, making the UK the most represented country in the top 10. London Gatwick was ranked the 6th worst in Europe, with a 5.24% rate of hour-long delays and an average delay of 111.88 minutes. That's nearly 2 hours, just in case you didn't know. According to the data, AirAdvisor found that the most impacted routes from Gatwick were to the three major holiday hotspots, Barcelona, Malaga and Lisbon. In 10th place was Birmingham Airport after the experts found that it scored a 5.26% rate of hour-long delays and an average duration of 108.01 minutes. The most disrupted route from Birmingham was said to be flying to the popular destinations of Amsterdam, Dublin and Charles de Gaulle. A Birmingham Airport spokesman said flight delays can happen for several reasons, including industrial action and bad weather, some of which are outside of the airport's control. This month, over half of all aircraft left on time, and we continue to work hard to improve punctuality. Our colleagues work tirelessly to provide brilliant passenger service, with the vast majority of people rating their experience as excellent. Meanwhile, London Stansted came in joint 10th with Birmingham after data found that it had a 5.5% rate of hour-long delays and an average delay of 106.24 minutes. AirAdvisor said the most delayed routes from Stansted were to Dublin, Edinburgh and to Istanbul. A London Stansted Airport spokesman told Mirror, It's very important to put this analysis into perspective. The data looks at 46 airports, but there are more than 340 major airports across Europe. So this represents a small and self-selective sample. This type of analysis of the CAA's data is misleading as it ignores important context. It should also be noted that this research has been produced by a flight compensation company and looks specifically at delays of more than 60 minutes, which are often driven by wider factors such as air traffic control restrictions, industrial action, adverse weather impacts, and airline operations, airline crew shortages, or delays to inbound flights rather than the airport's performance. Well, like all major airports operating in busy European airspace, punctuality on certain routes can be affected by congestion elsewhere in the network. We continue to work closely with airlines, air traffic control and partners across the aviation system to reduce disruption and keep journeys running as smoothly as possible for passengers. And just so that you know, the top 10 worst airports in Europe for delays from number 10 downwards was London Stansted, Birmingham, Marseille Provence in France, Porto in Portugal, London Gatwick, Bucharest in Romania, Nice Côte d'Azur in France, Krakow in Poland, Palma de Mallorca in Spain, and Manchester, UK. Some interesting take on some of the figures in there as well. And, you know, it doesn't really take account of those situations where there is a delay of the incoming aircraft from Charles de Gaulle, let's say.
Yeah. What can airports control? What do we see most from them? Security queues, passport controls. That's basically all they can control. Everything else, such as airspace restrictions, whether or not they have no control over that. So it does seem a weird piece of research, in my opinion, because especially in the summer, which is the worst time of year as well, the amount of route restrictions that are in place. And I've flown out of Manchester many, many times. A lot of the flights are heading down to Greek islands where there's only 4 or 5 parking spaces. And like you say, the second you get one delay on an airframe, then that just spirals through the day. So if there's been a slot delay down in, I don't know, say, where's a really small airport?
Bergerac?
One of the Greek islands, Zante, something like that. They couldn't get in the morning and had a 2-hour delay. They might have made some of that time up. There might actually be 0 delay on the actual de Gaulle because they can just get and go and do that, but it's the knock-on delay from earlier in the day. So it's got nothing to do with the airport.
Yeah, very, very difficult to analyse this sort of data. And as you say, there might be some fog down route where the aircraft had to hold for 45 minutes or something, then eventually got in and then just picks up the delay on the way back home, clearly.
Yeah. I'm not saying you don't get delays into places like de Gaulle and Amsterdam. You do, quite often, especially in the summer again. But again, it seems very subjective, the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a bit cheeky, really, wasn't it?
We're going to stick with you, Andy, for the next story and talk about something that you probably don't have to worry about when you're parking your A321 on the stand.
No, and I can't believe I'm reading it from this, but it's from gbnews.com. Labour under pressure to tackle airport parking charges mayhem with new rules amid spiralling costs. Labour has been urged to step in. We should say that the government has been urged to step in and tackle soaring airport drop-off charges as drivers across the UK face relentless price hikes. It follows a growing petition which has demanded the government review airport fees, which have spiralled out of control, placing an unfair burden on motorists. Campaigners have asked the government to grant the Civil Aviation Authority new powers to audit and cap charges, introduce a free 10-minute grace period, and stop airports from profiting from drop-off zones. The petition has already gathered more than 3,000 signatures from drivers demanding change. If the petition reaches more than 10,000, it will trigger a response from the government, but if it reaches 100,000, it will be scheduled for debate in the House of Commons. The push comes after fees continued to rise nationwide, with more than half of the UK's busiest airports increasing drop-off charges in the past year alone. At Heathrow Airport, drivers now pay £7 just to access terminal drop-off zones. Similar charges are now common elsewhere, with airport airports in cities including Manchester, Birmingham, Bristol and Edinburgh, all raising prices in the recent years. Research showed that airports such as Gatwick, Bristol and Stansted now charge up to £7 for just 10 minutes, while others like Birmingham and Edinburgh have increased fees to around £6. In some cases, the increases have been even steeper. Belfast City Airport has raised prices by a third, while Newcastle has also introduced notable hikes. More recently, Stansted Airport pushed charges even higher, with drivers now paying £10 for a short stay, following a near 50% increase. Gatwick Airport has also raised fees to £10 for a 10-minute drop-off, making it one of the most expensive in the country. Motoring groups have now warned that the situation is becoming increasingly difficult for drivers who are navigating huge costs this year. The petition detailed, "We are concerned that cost recovery claims lack transparency and that the fees are a stealth tax on the public, especially the elderly and disabled. The government should ensure these fees are independently audited and capped to protect the public from monopoly pricing." And Rod Dennis, Senior Policy Officer at the RAC, explained that charging drivers £7 for a stop that could be no more than 10 minutes does seem a little steep. He also warned that constant increases are likely to fuel frustration among families and travellers trying to help loved ones get to the airport. But industry body Airports UK has defended the fees, arguing they help reduce congestion and emissions and that free drop-off options are still available at most airports. But campaigners remained unconvinced, warning that the lack of regulation allows airports to set charges with little oversight. Apparently drivers have until September the 17th to sign the petition.
The first thing that I want to spit my dummy out, well, there's a couple of things I want to spit my dummy out with this on the first. I love the fact that one of the justifications for this is, bearing in mind at an airport where, however you dress it up, there is always going to be an awful lot of, fumes and everything all flying around, and they're citing, pollution and the reduction thereof as one of the reasons that this is a good thing. What a load of absolute utter nonsense, in my honest opinion. And the other thing is that obviously when mum goes away, bless her, she hasn't got the mobility that she used to have. I don't begrudge paying the £7.50 because it means that my mum has a much shorter, and we did, I should stress, we did try, because Stansted is the airport I'm going to refer to here. We did once drop her off at the long stay car park where you can get the free bus to drop you off outside. It took them 40 minutes before it came back to come and collect her. They weren't very helpful. The staff were quite rude. It was an awful experience for her, and I shall never put her through that again. So I do think, for me personally, if there is a legitimate reason, if they are a blue badge holder or something like that, I do think that there should be some special dispensation there for you to be allowed to drop them off nearer to the entrance to the airport. That is one thing that I do think needs addressing.
So for anyone who's wishing to travel to Gatwick, as Andy was saying in that story, it's £10 for up to 10 minutes in the designated drop-off zone. It does say on the Gatwick's website, which is right, £10 for 10 minutes. If you go 1 minute over your 10-minute slot, it's £1 per minute for up to a maximum of 30 minute stay, so 30 quid. You have to pay for your drop-off charge within 24 hours of visiting Gatwick. If you don't pay online within 24 hours, you then get charged another £100 for that.
Yes, this is one that really, really grinds my gears. Now they've got rid of barriers in most of these places where you actually pay on your way out. I've had this happen to me before when I went on holiday in Manchester. I was parking elsewhere. As you said, let's drop the bags, the kids, the wife, everywhere for the terminal. I'll pay the £5, then I'll go and dump the car. I went through the barrier and went, I've got to remember to play this online. I'm going on my holidays now. Of course, I've completely forgotten by the time I've got to the destination. And it's 4 days later, I've gone, oh no, I forgot to pay that. Yeah. And then it's immediately doubled or whatever it was. That really annoys me. Just leave the barriers there and I'll tap my card on the way out and it's done.
Yeah, or the worst thing you could do, which is what happened to me very recently, where I stopped off at a petrol station near an airport. I was there for 19 minutes. You only get 15 minutes apparently to park there £425 is how much it costs for them to not clamp my car, basically.
Spent much filling my car up with diesel yesterday.
Yeah, similar feeling, to be fair. Yeah, absolutely. Very similar indeed, to be fair. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
see, London Norwich have the right idea, which is you tap in and tap out with your debit card. Like, as you were saying, Andy, when you leave the car park zone or drop-off zone at Norwich, you just pull up, tap your card.
See how long that lasts when they realise they commit more money through extra fines.
I think the parking industry, whether it's privately owned for the most part, isn't it?
It is completely.
They've had very little regulation over the years, and there's been some horrific stories, not just about airport parking, but all sorts of parking around the country, with people getting fined, some big numbers, and it's just ridiculous. I think that this is long overdue, and I know that the government are always reluctant to interfere with private commercial arrangements, but this is really affecting people badly now.
I agree, and as I say, the bit that bothers me the most is, as I say, if you are disabled or you've got any form of challenge, if you like, which involving walking, I think they need to do better for anybody who is disabled, because I think it's frankly disgusting that there is no 10-minute window or whatever, that, as you say, like literally where you can literally throw them out of the car and then go. Not literally, obviously, but they absolutely need to do better, and I think it's frankly embarrassing for the UK to find themselves in this position. I'm intrigued to know, though. You guys have done a lot more sort of international travel to me. Is this a UK only problem, or is it sort of airports across the world that have similar systems in place to maximise revenue and things like that? Does anybody sort of I suppose the trouble is if you're coming out of the UK and going into there, you're normally you're either picking up a hire car and all that kind of thing, and it's someone else's problem. But
that's it. And you got, all the times I've done all this, I've been dropping off a hire car back at the airport, so I've never had my own car in an airport destination down route somewhere. So,
there's absolute uproar at the moment in Belfast, by the way, because the drop-off fee outside the airport has gone from £1 to £1.50, and there is absolute uproar over it. It's brilliant, because when we've gone to go and see family, Belfast is the nearest airport, Belfast International, and Ted will come and pick us up, and it's literally just £1 was just £1 to come and pick us up, and you think, well, that's quite civilised, isn't it? Because it's just like, it's an acknowledgement to the fact that you're close to the entrance or exit, but. Alex Robinson. Oh, Alex, it's nice to see you. Is he doing? Are you? Because he's one of these grown-up pilots now, isn't he? Do you still do any of the old acrobatics and that kind of thing? Do you do any of that? Want to find out more about that? Anyway, he got picked up by a private car at Leeds Bradford. They got charged £8 to pick us up.
A lot of taxi firms incorporate that into your fare.
To be fair, John Falk is saying that Jersey has 30 minutes free. That's quite sensible. Oslo, it's 7 minutes free, says Darren Smith. Thank you, Darren. Jennifer is saying that my airport in the US does make the bulk of its revenue from parking. That said, they don't charge drop-off fees to regular people, just Ubers and taxis. Amen to that. John Falk is also saying that Brussels used to have a 20-minute free parking area, now a charge unless you use a remote car park. Yeah. To be fair, you like at Stansted, you can go to the long haul, and it's free. But for the challenges that Mum has, that doesn't make it. That doesn't help, because standing is the problem and all this kind of thing. It just doesn't help.
I think it's always handy if you start a hotel the night before, and that hotel has either a transfer bus, or there's that hopper service, isn't there, Nev, that runs around Heathrow, company, separate bus company called Hopper. I think it's Hopper.
Yeah, there's several of them actually. Yeah, and they work really well between the main hotels on the perimeter road. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's about £7 one way or 14 quid return.
Yes, of course. The only thing you haven't factored into that is the overnight stay, which can be anything up to £110.
But you say that, Matt. A lot of the hotels, the IHG hotels especially, they do that kind of special deal, don't they, where you can get 7 days parking plus the hotel room the night before. And it's sometimes a lot cheaper than actually paying for a 7-day car park.
Yeah. I must admit, I've always done it with public transport if I've gone out of Heathrow and again, I had the little Hopper bus. I stayed at an what's the one that what's it called?
The whole
I something or other.
The Premier in
is it Ibis? Ibis? Is
Ibis.
That one? Yeah.
That's it,
I stayed there, and the Hopper bus sort of picked up round there, and it was that was actually surprisingly cheap. I think that was only £60 for the night, which I thought was incredibly cheap for London and stuff. And the Hopper bus was a £5 to take you to the airport, which was quite civilised. So,
right, Nick, you've got the next story. It's all yours.
Yes,
Moving
this
to the
one
Cotswolds.
is from UKAviation.aero. The headline is Cotswold Airport unveils new leadership structures to support business aviation growth. Cotswold Airport has announced a new executive structure as it positions itself for further expansion in business aviation and sustainable aerospace. The privately owned airport, which handles more than 36,000 aircraft movements each year, is investing in enhanced hangarage and infrastructure to meet rising demand from the business aviation sector. As part of the restructure, Graham Carter has been appointed Group Managing Director. He brings extensive experience in aviation operations and commercial growth, having previously held senior leadership roles in air operations and most recently in business development at Gloucestershire Airport. Antonia Silk has been promoted to Operations Director and joins the airport's board, reflecting her operational leadership across the site. Meanwhile, long-serving Operations Manager Glenn Morman will transition into Flight Information Service Officer role, continuing to support airfield operation and pilot services. Chief Executive Susanna Harvey said the changes would strengthen the airport's leadership team as it scales its operations. These changes strengthen our leadership team as we scale the business and invest in new infrastructure to support business aviation and next generation aerospace, she said. We are seeing strong demand for high quality, flexible aviation services and are well positioned to build on our reputation in this space. The airport is also home to a number of advanced aerospace companies, including Zero Avia and Vertical Aerospace, reinforcing its role as a hub for sustainable aviation innovation. Cotswold Airport has also committed to achieving carbon net zero operations by 2030, underlining its long-term focus on environmentally responsible growth. So it's probably most well known to a lot of us because they do a lot of chopping up of old aircraft there. And
I think Carlos has got a hut there actually, where he just spies from to see what's coming off next.
Sadly, where a lot of the British Airways 747s ended up. I remember driving past there during the pandemic and seeing a whole row of them. It was a bit of a sad sight, although they have now got a 747 and a former BA 747 that they've preserved on the site there. And I went up there, I think it was back in February, to meet a friend in the very nice cafe that they have on site, and spent a very pleasurable half an hour or so just wandering around the underside of the 747, and it was very nice to get up close to it.
It's quite a busy airport. I had no idea that the amount of aircraft movements was over 36,000. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, very surprising. I know that it's certainly very busy with GA. I would imagine there's probably a little bit of private jet operations going on because it's a pretty pretty wealthy part of the country, isn't it? But yeah,
There'll be a lot of training flights going into there from Gloucester
yes,
and down Bournemouth way. Lots of. So every circuit is classed as a movement as well.
okay. But yeah, sadly, it's also the place where a lot of planes take their final journey.
It is.
But we've done a few stories actually on the podcast regarding vertical aerospace, because I think we were probably speculating some time ago whether or not they were going to run out of money, because they were doing quite a bit with eVTOLs. It seems as though they've managed to sort of secure their future for the time being. But yeah, it's good to see that innovation is still alive and well for the time being.
Yeah, I'll be heading up there soon to get some more bits to hang on my wall.
Well,
Hopefully.
there's plenty there. You should have a good choice, good selection.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be worth the aggro. She can't hear me, she's downstairs. This one's from the bbc.co.uk, and it's a news story that's dominated social media and all the news feeds, I think, pretty much all this week. It is the headline: one injured after a plane hits truck while landing in Newark. Matt's got some pictures. We've also got a video as well of this. But a truck driver has suffered minor injuries after a United Airlines aircraft clipped his vehicle and a streetlight as it approached Newark Liberty International Airport in New Jersey on Sunday. The 767 operating a flight from Venice, Italy, managed to land safely with no reported injuries among 231 passengers and crew on board. One of the plane's tyres appears to have gone through one of the truck's windows and windscreen, and the driver's employers told CBS News, that the BBC's US news partner, that in the dash cam footage from the truck, the sound of a low-flying plane can be heard, and it shows the impact, which sent glass flying everywhere. The driver was treated for injuries from glass in his arm and hand, and the truck was travelling on a road near one of the airport's runways when it was struck. United Airlines said in a statement it would conduct a rigorous flight safety investigation into the incident, and our crew has been removed from service as part of the process, they said. Their maintenance team is evaluating the damage to the aircraft, and the statement added, and that New Jersey Governor Mike Sherrill says he is grateful the aircraft landed safely and all passengers and crew are unharmed. The NTSB has sent an investigation team over and ordered United Airlines to provide the cockpit flight voice recorder and flight data recorder from the aircraft. And yeah, this sounds a bit, Nev, like back in the day with that, was it BA? Oh, what flight number that was now, Nev? Back at
this is going to be a bit cheeky of me, and it's not really comparing like with like, so I do apologise in advance. But it's funny how the BA 777 that landed short at Heathrow managed to get over the fence and not hit anything due to, it did have a double engine lack of thrust, but because the flight crew saw what was going on, in advance of what happened, able to reduce the flap setting to flaps 25, I think it was, so it could get over the fence. Now, to be fair to them, they did crash short of the runway and were nowhere near the threshold, but at least they didn't hit anybody on the way down, and everybody got out of the aircraft. But yeah, this is a massive problem, I think, for the flight crew and for United on this one. Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, they were too low, way too low. Or they should be 50 feet over the threshold, which was displaced as well. Obviously, doing a visual approach. Why didn't they have it backed up with the ILS? Might not have been on that runway. Might not have an ILS. They should have backed it up with something though to check they were in the right place at the right speed. It's really lucky. If they'd been just a fraction lower, I think they would have potentially crashed it into the runway. Do you
think that when you've got that rather odd visual approach, which is a fairly hard right turn, I think, isn't it, onto the runway 29 at Newark, and having a displaced threshold, do you think it would be tempting, and we're now speculating, so I do apologise in advance, but do you think it's tempting to try and land a little bit short of a runway when you've got a displaced threshold and you've got only 6,500 foot of runway to play with?
There's a reason why it's a displaced threshold. It's not designed to take landing. Simple as that. The pavement classification number will be lower than the main runway because it saves costs. You can use it for takeoff, obviously, because that's where you need the most runway. So no pilot that I know or I've ever trained have I specifically told them you land in the touchdown zone at the right speed. That's all you're looking for. The Pappies would have been full reds, definitely on this. They should have had all the warnings. It would have been a long overnight flight from Venice as well. So this isn't a position I would want to put myself in, to be doing that sort of approach after that length of flight. And they're, as I said before, they're just so lucky that the gentleman isn't hurt. They literally skimmed the top of the truck. I don't think we'd have heard much about it if it hadn't hit the truck, caught the dash cam. It did hit a lamppost as well, which did actually puncture the fuselage, which we probably would have heard about. But it just looks so shocking from the onboard footage of the lorry being hit that there's definitely going to be some long chats with the chief pilot without tea or biscuits. And there's definitely some, if they get there, there's definitely retraining required here.
And also, if you think about it, as we were saying just before the show started, with the inertia of the aircraft, even if they realised that they were too low, it would have been too late for engine spool up to correct it.
If they decided to try and go around, you couldn't have corrected that. It depends. If they were in a draggy flap state, then the power would have been around 50%, so it'll pick up quite quickly. But even then, with the inertia, a 767 is a big aircraft. Even if they did decide to go around at that point, they are still going to contact the ground that low down. So they would have still touched down. And it's probably better that they didn't go around in this scenario, because I think they'd have found they had way more problems when they came back downwind. Yeah, I think it's best that they did just land. And again, I don't think they realised until after they landed what had actually occurred.
Yeah, apparently the crew were unaware.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's seen it, but there's a really good Blancalerio video about this topic. He does discuss the airport information, which states the displaced threshold, which is approximately 250 feet. I think there might be an EMAS pad at the end of the runway as well. Apparently the aircraft did actually touch down in the appropriate place. However, I think the stipulation is that you should be at least 60 feet above the threshold. So presumably at the point at which they were crossing the highway, they should have been at probably 300 feet.
Not quite that high. It's 300 feet per mile on a standard 3-degree glide path.
That's fair.
So about 100, 140 feet probably, and they were significantly lower than that.
My question is this: having spent a few hours in a simulator recently, it's my understanding that generally, if you don't have 2 reds and 2 whites on the Pappies, that's a go around. Surely they would have been way too low.
Yeah, absolutely. That approach that approach was not stable, and all airlines have very specific stable criteria that need to be maintained all the way down the approach. And there's normally several checkpoints where, as a crew, you go, is this a stable approach? Yes, it is now, but at any point it becomes unstable, such as the incorrect vertical path, wrong speed, too high rate of descent, too much bank, pitch attitude's not correct. You bin it, you go around.
Yeah.
And these guys should have gone round long before they got to this point.
Yeah.
But that's normally and it'll be a series of events. As we know, it's never one thing that causes something like this to happen. There'll be numerous events that have occurred on that approach, even all the way back to the briefing of if they were going to do a visual approach, how they were going to do it, that will have all piled up together to create this event.
So I'm wondering if because of the late turn onto final, because of that particular approach, would that have meant that they may not have had the visual indicator of the PAPIs, or should they have had kind of a fairly obvious visual indicator from their own instruments anyway?
Or even if you're flying a visual approach, it's all eyes outside, and you get used to what a runway should look like when you're on the correct path. Even with a displaced threshold, you've got to block that bit out and just look at the image that you've got. But again, the PAPIs help a lot. Also, your rate of descent. There's all of these indications you have to go, the runway looks right, we're in the right place, we're going down at a sensible rate here. Because if they did manage to, because I need to watch Blanclear's video, if they did manage to land in the right place, they must have really reduced the rate of descent just after that occurred and sort of just floated down and then touched down in the right spot. Because with their trajectory that they were on, from the certain angles I've seen in the video, they were going to land on the extender and land quite close to the end of that. But yeah, be interested to see the final report on this. It'll be a good one. In terms of what not to do, and thankfully nobody was hurt.
That's the astounding thing, isn't it? That is the astounding
simulator time for some pilots coming up.
More than that, I think.
Yes.
I think so.
I think it all depends on.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it all depends on how their discussion with the chief pilot goes first. That's the most important bit now.
Right. Nev, you've got the next story, and offering money to pilots for not hitting trucks on bridges.
I think you missed out Andy's.
I missed out. Sorry, I missed out.
story.
Oh no, sorry.
About the
Yes, it's another collision. Sorry, I missed out the collision there. Andy, yeah, we've actually. I don't know whether you managed to get the video for this one or not, Nev, but I saw the video for this earlier on social media. It's quite amusing.
It caused quite a bit of damage, didn't it? This is from aerotime.aero, and it's a China Eastern Airlines Airbus A350 collides with the boarding bridge in Shanghai. The incident occurred at Shanghai International Airport on the 2nd of May, and after this is very precise, 5.1-year-old A350-900 registered Bravo 324 Whiskey arrived as flight Mike Uniform 5406 from Chengdu, and according to the airline, the aircraft was taxiing slowly towards its sign gate when a mechanical issue affected its movement. That's the bridge, leading to contact with the jet bridge. China Eastern described the collision as minor and confirmed that all passengers and crew remained safe. Following the incident, the flight crew handled the situation in line with standard procedures, and passengers disembarked in an orderly manner using the unaffected side of the aircraft. Witnesses said the impact was noticeable inside the cabin, with some describing it as similar to light turbulence. After disembarking, passengers reported visible damage near one wing area and said they heard a loud noise at the moment of contact. The aircraft remained at the stand following the incident for further investigation and inspection. Authorities have launched an investigation to determine the exact cause of the collision, included the reported mechanical issue during the taxi. China Eastern said it is cooperating fully with regulators and has apologised to passengers for any disruption. So sorry, I think I got that the wrong way around. I think this had a brake failure or something as it's come up to the gate and rolled into it. Or the parking brake wasn't applied correctly, which is a more likely incident. Oh, there's the video there, yeah.
Presumably, if it was brake failure, they would have known about a hydraulic issue.
Well, with the brake system on the Airbus aircraft, it can be difficult to tell if there's an accumulator problem or main hydraulic system problem until you actually stand on the pedals and feel that they are soft and squishy and nothing's there. And at this point, that's a bit late. Your other option now, and I think it's the same on the 350, I think it's the same memory actions across the fleet. You turn nose wheel steering off, which then changes the system round, and then you should get alternate brakes. And if that doesn't work, then slam the park brake on, because that is purely on accumulator pressure. But it's difficult to work out what's happening. I've had a brake failure before, and you sit there for a couple of seconds thinking, hang on, this isn't right. And of course, as we saw there, those bridges were very close into the wing. You got no time. And it's a shame, composite aircraft, it's going to crumple and come apart quite easily.
You're not going to buff that, that's for sure. Now, there was quite a few pictures online. I think Darren makes a comment in the chat room that apparently they applied reverse thrust and went in again. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
I mean, reverse thrust's a good braking action. It can help.
And also, Jennifer says, straight out of the movie Airplane. That's true. Yeah, I remember that part, yeah. Nev, BA story for you.
Yeah, it's on the Aviation A2Z.com. It says British Airways has posted a unique job listing for pilots willing to earn up to $100,000 annually by taxiing aircraft on the ground at Chicago O'Hare International Airport. The role involves moving Boeing 777 and 787 aircraft between Terminal 5 and Terminal 3 multiple times a day with absolutely no flying involved. The position exists of how BA structures its operations at O'Hare. BA flights arrive at Terminal 5 and the airport's primary international terminal, where US Customs and Border Protection is based, but depart from Terminal 3 to support the airline's transatlantic joint venture with American Airlines. The unusual setup at Chicago O'Hare stemmed from the deep commercial partnership between BA and American Airlines. Terminal 3 serves as the main AA hub at O'Hare, and a large share of BA passengers connecting through Chicago transfer on to or from domestic AA flights. If BA required connecting passengers to travel from Terminal 3 to Terminal 5 after arriving on an American airline service, the airline would face a high rate of missed connections. That operational disruption would cost BA significantly more in rebooking, compensation and lost customer goodwill than simply repositioning the aircraft. By moving its planes to Terminal 3, BA ensures that its departure gates sit as close as possible to the gates where AA passengers deplane. Hope you're keeping up with all this, by the way. This reduces transit time inside the airport and keeps connection windows tight and reliable. But as reported by Paddle Your Own Canoe, unlike some airports worldwide that allow airlines to reposition aircraft using pushback tugs, O'Hare does not permit tug-based taxi operations between the terminals. Interesting, isn't it? A qualified pilot must be at the controls to move the aircraft, which creates the need for a dedicated taxi crew. BA requires candidates to hold air transport pilot certificate with recent type rating experience on either the 777 or the 787. The job listing states that the taxi crew will play a critical role in supporting on-time performance by safely ground taxiing BA's wide-body aircraft between terminals at O'Hare. The basic salary range for this position falls between $90,000 and $100,000 per year, depending on experience, skills, and qualifications. By US airline pilot standards, that figure sits well below what a senior captain earns at a major carrier. However, he does actually get off the deck. The role demands far less responsibility, of course, and workload than a full flying schedule. Although, I have to say, recently we've seen so many ground handling incidents, I do begin to wonder sometimes. The taxi crew position is not designed for active career stage pilots at major airlines. Instead, it targets recently retired pilots who are no longer legally permitted to fly commercial airlines in the United States under FAA rule age regulations, but retain the skills and certification to taxi aircraft at low speeds on the ground.
Blimey.
This is
I don't understand how, from
very odd,
a licensing perspective, how you can hold an ATP beyond the age of 65.
Yeah.
Because when I get to 65, I won't be allowed to hold an ATP anymore. I can have my CPL still, my commercial pilot's license, but I wouldn't be able to have an airline transportation pilot's license. But isn't it mad they won't let you taxi aircraft around using tugs?
This is this is a bit of the story I don't understand. I'd be interested to know anyone that knows a bit about O'Hare, what the score is with ground handling there, because that's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, because compare the cost of taxiing or moving an aircraft with a tug compared to actually firing up both engines and
Oh, it's incredibly expensive to do that. And as well, like you were saying, Nev, I think taxiing around a major airport like this is quite stressful, and there's quite a lot of responsibility there.
Yeah.
But what an awesome job for somebody. It's great.
Bit of a pay cut though for flying them though.
Yeah, these fellas have retired. They've got their massive pensions. This is pocket money to them now, isn't it?
Fair enough. Yeah, true.
This is their beer money for the weekend.
Is there a difference, Andy, in the licensing if you aren't carrying passengers?
Well, you're not flying the aircraft, you're taxiing the aircraft, but a flight begins... It depends on the regs. I can only work on what I know, which is UK, Europe, and a few others. A flight, when you should begin under your own power, the flight has commenced.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get airborne. So they must have permission from the FAA to do this. Otherwise, they wouldn't be advertising it.
Can't help thinking there's got to be a business case though for it. Surely a ground-based tug is cheaper to operate than taxiing an aircraft. Surely.
But if the airport's regulations are you're not allowed to do that, which to me is insane, then this is what you've got to do.
It's mental.
I know from my coach driving days, you could, and the same for for Carlos. Sorry, like with the CPC was what you required in order to carry passengers or to drive professionally. So even if you weren't, although you might not have, if you're moving around without passengers on board, then you had to have it, even it was because you were working for the company is the reason why you needed a CPC. So if you owned a coach, for example, for your own personal private use, it was non-paying revenue and all that kind of thing, you wouldn't need a CPC. But even the engineers in the garages would require a CPC in order to do like road testing and things like that. So I guess it's a similar principle being applied here.
Yeah, and you'd need a correctly constituted crew as well. You'd have to have 2 pilots doing this, and you're operating it under its own power, so that's why you need a type rating.
Presumably no cabin crew, though.
Oh, no need for that,
because
there's no passengers on. Very interesting as to how they've come to this conclusion, but here we are.
Cool. There was that incident a few years ago when somebody stole a Dash 8 at Seattle and took it on a Joy flight, and I'm sure that was a situation where they were a ground worker, but they had authorization to be able to taxi the aircraft to reposition them on the ground. So there does seem to be some sort of
I guess it all depends on the FAA's regs, the airport's regs here, what's been agreed as to how they can do this.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if I was freshly retired for $100,000 a year and I'm sat at home a bit bored, I'd be like, yes, please, I'll do this.
Richard Adams asks, Andy, in the chat room, can't you fly cargo after 65? I thought it was just passengers passenger aircraft that were restricted.
No. Good question. If it's under my ATPL, then the answer's no. No, that's it. I'm done. I can't fly for commercial gain anymore, I think. I'm not going to get to 65, and I don't mean I'm going to die. I mean I'm going to retire before then. I'm not going to find out.
Yeah.
Also, Jason Trussell says in the chat room that apparently he's a dab hand on the sit-on lawnmower, so he's happy to give it a go.
Amen to that, Jason.
Yeah, good point. But yeah, what an interesting job. Very interesting. Right, Matt,
yes.
BA for you, and someone's been putting the wrong fuel in.
Indeed, it's been a BA-heavy programme, to be fair, today. Independent.co.uk is the source for this one, and the headline is British Airways flight cancelled after refuelling mishap damages aircraft at Heathrow. Now, surely somebody hasn't accidentally put diesel in an unleaded on this one. Anyway, British Airways faces a potential compensation bill of £250,000 after a ground handling mishap at London Heathrow Airport. The Boeing 787, due to operate flight BA299 to Chicago O'Hare, was being checked by engineers as refueling took place. A platform was placed beneath the fuselage as the weight of the aircraft increased. It sank onto the equipment, which became jammed underneath the plane. The fuselage sustained minor damage, according to the airline. After attempts to solve the problem and to find another aircraft to operate, the service failed. The 1:10 departure was cancelled, along with the inbound overnight flight from Chicago to London, BA298. The aircraft that was damaged had a capacity of 256 passengers, assuming both legs had around 240 people booked. All claimed the £520 compensation. The payout would have reached £250,000. In addition, British Airways had to provide hotels for the passengers at Heathrow. They are being rebooked onto alternative flights on Monday. A passenger on the plane who wanted to remain anonymous said when the plane was refueling, it obviously weighed more, so dropped slightly, meaning the platform got wedged underneath. There were countless technicians around the platform. BA tried to find another plane instead, but couldn't, and so after 3 hours, they said that the flight was cancelled. By then, it was too late to find an alternative flight. He was he was put up in a Heathrow hotel, rebooked on American Airlines to Chicago on the Monday morning, and a spokesperson for British Airways said that our aircraft sustained some minor damage as it was being prepared for boarding at Heathrow. Safety is always our priority, and we would never operate a flight unless it was safe to do so. We've apologised to our customers for the disruption to their travel plans, and our teams have worked hard to get them on their way as quickly as possible.
Someone made a bit of a mistake here.
An expensive one at that.
Yeah. Obviously,
I'd be interested to know what the platform was or where it was. That was a refueling rig, but
I'm fairly sure, Andy, it was near the nose gear of the aircraft. I think the pictures that I saw online. There we go.
I still can't really work out.
There's a yellow platform, behind it.
I see. Well, why didn't they just take the bags out and then lift it up? But you can see it's actually it's dug in quite firm into the fuselage there. Yes, that's not flying anywhere.
I was going to say that is now at one with the wing panel. I think yes. Yeah.
And what's that sort of 45, 50 tons of fuel to go to O'Hare, something like that? I would imagine
it'll be something like that. Yeah. Plus the bags going on as well. Plus the boarding occurring. The aircraft do just progressively sink down on that gear oleo. And it's quite funny when you pull up at a jet bridge and you put the bridge on to get people off. When it's my turn to get off, there's quite a big step down from the door to the bridge because it's lightened up so much and lifted that much. So yeah, these things happen slowly, and then somebody will have noticed it and thought, oh. And of course, it's a composite aircraft again, isn't it? Yeah, 787. So that's it's not a simple patchwork that to fix it, unfortunately, with a bit of aluminium. That takes quite a bit of work to sort out.
Ouch. Yes. They'll learn. They won't do that again. Potentially. Right. And finally, Nick, you've got a and finally story, which is kind of a follow-on from a previous story we had earlier.
Yeah, that's my second and finally in 2 weeks in a row. So this is from theguardian.com, and the headline is Spirit pilot gets overwhelming send-off from Southwest after his final flight is cancelled. A Spirit Airlines pilot was given an emotional send-off into retirement by another airline after what was supposed to be his final flight was cancelled amid Spirit's sudden collapse on Saturday. John Jackson had been scheduled to fly his final flight into Baltimore Washington International Airport on Saturday, when the low-cost airline ceased operations after running out of cash. So instead, Jackson boarded a Southwest flight to get back to Baltimore from Fort Lauderdale. During the flight, his son Chris, a Southwest pilot, casually mentioned to the crew that this would have been his dad's retirement flight, according to a Facebook post shared by Southwest, setting into motion a plan that resulted in a proper retirement party when the flight landed in Baltimore. Southwest staff organised a water cannon salute over the aircraft when it arrived, and Jackson was met with cheers, applause and a bottle of bubbly when he walked off the jet bridge. A delighted Jackson gave a brief speech in the terminal telling staff, "Very overwhelming, I can't thank you enough. As Spirit goes down, this is a sad day and you guys made it incredible, so thank you so much." Southwest Post reads, "It was a powerful reminder of the aviation community's ability to show respect, compassion and solidarity when it matters most. Above all, this moment was about honouring a fellow aviator. Congratulations and thank you for your service in the skies, Captain Jackson."
How nice is that?
That is very nice. A class move from them.
Yeah.
And not at all some cunning PR.
Very good PR. Very good PR.
It all
so cynical.
works.
Yeah. No, good on them. Good on them. And, a nice send-off on your last retirement flight. Are you looking forward to a water cannon salute on your last flight, Andy?
You ask me that all the time. Nope, I don't want that. Don't want any of that stuff.
By the time you retire, Andy, there'll be health and safety regulations forbidding that kind of activity at your base airport.
Well, yeah, it depends. Really, there was an incident a few years back where the fire crew turned on the foam for somebody having that done.
Wasn't there?
Yeah, and it made the aircraft AOG for 4 hours. So a lot of the airlines went, "We're not doing that anymore."
Expensive stuff. Dirk says, "What a great story, by the way."
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it is.
Right, it's time for the Retro Airline ad. Nev, what we got this week?
Ah, yes, it is. Well, this week we go back to 1983 and to an airline that's taking you to Europe for a bargain. Then, just for a change this week, we go all SNL and comedy for this alternative airline ad.
America, you don't know it yet, but you're going to Europe this summer on Pan Am.
You're going because we cut our fares. They're lower than last year.
You're going because now there's no excuse not to.
It may be London.
Or Paris.
Or Rome.
But you're going to Europe this summer on Pan Am.
Because you can't beat the experience or the price.
America? I guess we're going.
You can't beat the experience.
Quite.
I think that's one of the best ones yet, don't you?
Yeah.
I think that's the best one. Yeah,
is
that
good.
was superb.
Yeah. Second only to Yorkshire Airlines, which I know we played a few years back,
yeah.
to be fair, yeah. Absolutely.
I would like
Truss- Sorry, go on. Andy.
I'd like to know what Pan Am were flying into Dubrovnik. It's not a very big airport, and it must have been something big they were flying in there.
Yeah, that did pop up at the end, didn't it? And the little ticker tape, this list of countries where they flew to.
Dubrovnik, yeah.
Jason Trussell in the chat room says, "How young was Eddie Murphy?" He was young.
True
in that.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
And Richard Adams has said, "A great, honest advert." Yeah, do you remember those signs, Nev, above the machines saying about putting camera film through the old X-ray machines?
Oh, yes, that's right, yeah. Well, in the days when we did, yes, you couldn't put them through, could you?
No.
Although actually, in later years, people like Kodak, Agfa and Fuji came up with film types that you would withstand the X-rays, I think. But yeah.
Nice.
Bill says, I think they used the 727, Andy, for short haul from the hubs.
Ah, right. That would make sense. So from one of their German hubs, probably.
But no, I hope you enjoyed that slightly comedic retro airline ad from SNL. And that's something that's migrated to the UK now, isn't it, Matt? We now have SNL in the UK.
We do. I've not seen it yet because I'm not a Sky subscriber, but there's lots of clips floating around. But it's got a couple of quite decent comedians involved on it and that. But yeah,
It's good.
I definitely want to watch it.
Right, it's time for Nev's favourite part of the show. Nev, what's coming up?
Well, it is, because I don't have to do any speaking because I'm not qualified on the subject. But yeah, of course, Armando's been very busy every week giving us a bit of an update on the operations in the US and Iran war. And let's have a look at his latest bulletin.
What's up, Buggies 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay, now there's a Buggy.
Air operations across the Middle East have remained pretty steady, no major changes in the tempo, while activity in the air has been relatively stable, and the structure behind it continues to shift a little bit, especially on the carrier side. Last week I was talking about 3 aircraft carriers. That's shifting a little bit. Looking at the last 7 days, U.S. and coalition aircraft have continued routine strike and patrol operations across the region. No major surges in strike activity, no confirmed losses of any aircraft. Fighter aircraft continue to carry the bulk of the daily operations, supported by those unmanned aircraft, providing persistent coverage, that intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance mission. Bomber activity remains present, but very limited, focused on very specific targets rather than those large-scale strikes again. Iranian missile and drone launches continue at a lower, steady level, maintaining pressure, but without any significant escalation. So overall, the picture this week is one of stability. Operations are continuing, but with some minor shifts in pace and intensity. After a record-setting deployment, the USS Gerald Ford Carrier Strike Group is now heading home. That marks the end of what was effectively a surge period for carrier presence in the region, as we reported over the last couple of weeks. At the same time, the 2 carrier strike groups that remain under U.S. Central Command, the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS George H.W. Bush, are still both operating in the Arabian Sea. So while the number of total aircraft carriers has decreased, the capability has not dropped off in any significant way. Those 2 aircraft carriers still provide a strong level of air power, each bringing its own air wing, some strike fighters, electronic warfare aircraft, command and control platforms, all capable of supporting ongoing operations. The difference is in how that capability is being used right now. With fewer aircraft carriers, operations are less about a surge capacity and more about sustainability. Sortie generation, a little bit more controlled. Deck cycles are managed in order to support steady operations rather than that peak output that we saw a couple months ago. Overall, the system just kind of becomes easier to maintain over time. From an operational standpoint, this looks like a transition, moving from a high-intensity posture towards something a little bit more balanced, still capable, but designed to last. In this current phase, the carrier air wings are continuing to provide that flexibility. They're not driving the campaign, but they remain an important part of how the overall conflict is managed. Those carrier-based fighters are supporting strike missions, providing escort, contributing to airspace control. They're also positioned to respond quickly if conditions change. Because of their location at sea, they can be repositioned without relying on those fixed bases. That's the advantage of aircraft carriers. That gives commanders in the region options. At the same time, carrier operations remain tied to their own constraints. That range still matters. Tanker support is still required for deeper missions. Everything revolves around those launch and recovery cycles. So while the carriers remain flexible, they're also part of that larger, tightly managed systems. Even with steady operations, there are some developments on the regional side. Israel is moving forward with plans to expand its fighter fleet, approving additional squadrons of both F-15IA and F-35I aircraft. That reflects a clear focus on long-range strike capability. The F-35 provides access and targeting. The F-15 provides payload and range. Together, they create a balanced force for sustained operations. At the same time, Israel's new KC-46 tanker, the Gideon, has completed its first flight. That adds another layer, tanker aircraft extending that range, that time on station, supporting more complex missions. So while activity this week appears steady, the capability across the region is still growing. From an aircrew standpoint, weeks like this are more about consistency. It's about reconstitution. You're not dealing with sudden changes or large shifts. Instead, it's about executing the mission day after day, staying within the system, keeping everything aligned. Carrier operations in particular emphasize that. Everything runs on that cycle, that launch mission recovery. And maintaining that over time is what keeps the operation moving. Looking ahead, the question is about whether the steady phase holds. The structure is in place, the capability is there. Now it's about how long can that be maintained and whether conditions push it in a different direction. That's pretty much it for the air picture this week. I'm Armando. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you in a couple weeks at PTUK 600.
I cannot wait for that. It's going to be so nice to see him. It really is. And thank you, Armando, for those great updates. It's so nice to. So he's the nearest we're going to get to an expert. I think really. I don't think there is such a thing. I don't think there is such a thing as an expert on these matters. But obviously, he has got experience and stuff. And
Nev loves it. He absolutely loves it now. The military segment is now Nev's favourite part, I think.
Well, because it's like, somebody talking about what knows what they're talking about, isn't it? That's what it is. Instead of us mumbling on.
Yeah, with all the acronyms and all that nonsense. Anyway, Nev, it is so close now. It's almost within poking distance.
I feel this has been the longest countdown ever. It certainly feels like it. It's 6 months or more, isn't it? But anyway, we're not far off now. Just over a couple of weeks to go, isn't it? So the week of the show, it's the 600 show itself, which is on the 22nd. We will not be doing a show on the 20th because we are not going to put out a show before the 600th. So we will not be doing a show that week. We've got one more show to go next week. But yeah, today's been all about thick HDMI cables, XLR cables, you name it. We've been getting it all together. So yeah, the studio behind me is devastated because there's been stuff ripped out and all the rest of it. But no, it's been very good. A long conversation or email rather, with the Imperial War Museum today about catering and food and you name it. So yeah, we're just about there. All we need is for a bit of decent weather. Oh, there's Matt's collection of cables. Lovely.
Matt's got his cables out.
You can never have enough.
Amen to that.
So yeah, just need some decent weather, as I said, on the 22nd. That'll be absolutely perfect. So let's see how we do. But yeah, we're all there. We've managed to squeeze a late entry person that came in, not for the dinner but for the event itself. So David Crisp is going to be joining us for the 600th show, and he's actually flying into Duxford as well. So I hope the weather plays nicely for him too.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that is very, very good. And as you said at the big top of the show, Nev, it's sort of food. You've been in talks about the various lovely foods that are going to be available on the day as well.
Yes, some nice snacks during the day, nice lunch. Of course, all the people that are coming have ordered their meals for the dinner. But yeah, there's some very nice food promised for during the day as well, especially for us fellas that have got to build the show and put it all together. So, but yeah, I'll be offering tea and coffee during the mornings, and then a very nice buffet style lunch before the podcast itself starts at 2:00 in the afternoon.
So I know you have to take it with a pinch of salt, but I'm just looking at the old forecasts, which generally tend to be fairly accurate in their head, and at the moment it's looking all right for the 22nd.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, that's good.
So
it's important for the people that are flying in, but also it's nice if the weather's decent. Good if the weather's nice at Duxford, it is perfect, isn't it? But we've also been there when it's not been so nice, and it's extremely windy because it's very exposed, obviously being the airfield that it is. But let's see how we get on. But let's keep our fingers crossed for some decent weather anyway.
Yeah, we have got a lot to pack in on the day, haven't we, Nev? With all the various talks and all.
Yeah, I mean, we've got
the museum itself.
Yeah, we've got 6 guest presenters, and yeah, we're going to be running quite a tight ship. Not much room for comedy or ad-libbing, I'm afraid. But we'll see how we do. But yeah, thanks to all of the people that have agreed to come and talk to us and to you as well. That'll be a big treat. And we've got some fantastically knowledgeable people from the Imperial War Museum as well, which I'm really looking forward to.
And don't forget to send those questions over, Andy, because I want to obviously have a foresight on what we're going to have so I can get the answers in?
That's not how it works at all. Don't you dare. He's not allowed to see any of them.
Oh, well.
Matt has spoken.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Myself and Nev will need access to it in order to get it ready for popping up on screens and things like that, but there'd be no point in me being involved anyway, but yeah, absolutely. Unless, I can take care of that, Nev, if you want to participate.
No, it's all right. No, I don't think that the presenter should be allowed to participate.
Fair point.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Oh, I want Carlos just to see how badly he does, really. But then
well, yeah.
We always say Google is your friend.
I'm going to set up a Faraday cage as well, so there's no internet access in or out.
Or you could just put me on the O2 network, which would mean I wouldn't get any signal. So just saying.
Yeah. Matt, could you turn your volume down a bit back to us? Do you think it's a bit on the loud side when you get a minute? Thank you.
Yeah.
No, if he's still there.
It's a bit warm. It's a bit warm.
Yes.
Right, we're going to have a little round robin before we wrap up the show this evening. So, Nick, as you are down in a lovely part of the UK, and is it going to be a two-wheeled adventure this weekend?
I'm hoping to go and catch a bit of live music down by the seafront in Torquay on Saturday. So yeah, hoping for some good weather for that. I did have a quick aviation question, if I may.
Oh,
I've just booked a holiday for myself and my 7-year-old daughter. She's never been on an aeroplane before, and one of her first questions, bearing in mind she doesn't know very much about aeroplanes or aviation, was she wanted to know whether or not the aeroplane would do a barrel roll. Is that part of the standard operating procedure, Andy?
Not normally. So I think you can safely tell her that it won't do a barrel roll.
Okay.
Does she want it to do a barrel roll is the question.
I'm going to say possibly not. Maybe not on her first flight.
Then she'll be happy with that answer.
Maybe we'll do one on the way back.
I have to take her down the sim.
Yeah.
You can try all you like in a sim, Nick. Yeah.
Well, I've tried it in an Airbus and it wasn't having any of it.
Yeah, because the sim, unfortunately, is not... It'd be good if you could get the sim in a metal frame where you could spin it all the way around as well. That'd be quite good.
Darren Smith in the chat room, Nick, has just said, take her up in a Tiger Moth. You can roll that.
Oh, yeah.
Which they do at Duxford, Tiger Moth flights. Whether you'll be allowed to roll one or not is another thing, but yeah, that might not be...
Yeah, the Spitfire flight might be a bit out of my price range, unfortunately. Although they are doing all afford that. Dunk as well now, which is near me.
How about you, Nev? What's going on in the world of bounds?
Well, back to the Keep Fit tomorrow. Been off. This is going to be a bit painful. It's been off for 3 weeks, not doing any. So tomorrow I'm joining the class, which means there'll be pain and agony on Friday and Saturday. But next Wednesday, I'm going to London to the exhibition centre called Olympia for the Media Production and Technology Show, which is a broadcast and audiovisual show. So I'll see a whole load of my chums from TV and broadcast and professional video, which I'm looking forward to very much indeed. I haven't seen them for ages, actually, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then, of course, it's the show in the evening. So, yeah, that'll be another week gone, won't it?
Can you make sure you get 7,000 pens, 50 key rings, and all the usual
yes,
stuff?
all the cheap swag.
Well, you must need to be topping up by now, Nev. You must be running out.
Well, that's true. Yeah, no, I'm short of pens, but yeah, so that'll be good. So it'll be nice to see a few of my old mates again down there.
Yeah, Darren Smith says you can compare cables while you're there, Nev.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. How about you, Matt? What about you this weekend? Are you going?
No, not a lot really. I had a busy bank holiday weekend, doing visuals for massive video screens and all that kind of thing. Some guy called DJ Spoony, just busy working with him last weekend. That was quite fun. Yeah, I'm hoping for a fairly chilled one this weekend. Actually, no, I'm going out to Gonzo's Tea Rooms Friday night.
Oh, it's supposed to be nice there.
Yeah, it's good fun there. The event doesn't start till 11:30 p.m, so don't expect me to be in much of a decent state on Saturday morning, because I'm essentially pulling an all-nighter, as it were. So we'll find out if I can still do that. If you want to find out, you know where to tune in. Because see if I make it or not. Otherwise, it might be a double show for Carlos. But anyway, there we go. Yeah, gonna be fun. Gonna be fun. Yeah, other than that, just a very chilled weekend, really, all being well.
And Andy, hopefully you're going to say you're going to be sitting in the left seat loads between now and next week.
No.
Oh.
No. Home. Nice to be home. Nice chilled weekend. It's been a very busy few weeks, so I'm just glad to do nothing.
Family time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah. All important family time. I don't blame you. And we're also hoping to have a quiet weekend this weekend as well. Just finishing touches to the guest room, or as we call it, the Matt Smith guest room.
The Matt
We'll be finishing off that hopefully this weekend. But apart from that, I'm hoping that the weather's going to be a little bit warmer, so we can sit out on the new garden furniture that we recently got.
Nice.
Do love a bit of garden furniture. Anyway, right, social media links. Nev, where can everyone find us?
Yes, it's Facebook, X, Instagram or LinkedIn. Just search those platforms for Plain Talking UK. You can email the show, podcast@plaintalkinguk.com, or use our WhatsApp number, +44 7446 975 214. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get notifications when we go live. Just make sure you click the bell icon and the thumbs up to help us shape the conversation of the show by joining us in the chat room. Just search on youtube.com for Plain Talking UK. As we mentioned at the start of the show, we do have some running costs of the show, and thanks to those fantastic people that help us. You can help us by donating, if you can afford it, by Patreon or by PayPal. The information for that is on our website, plaintalkinguk.com, on the top right-hand side of the screen where it says support us.
And there we go. That is a wrap for this week's show, episode 598.5 of the podcast. Don't forget to join us next week for the show here on YouTube. And also, don't forget as well, we're going to say a big thank you to everyone who downloads the show as an audio podcast, because a lot of you download the show as an audio podcast out there. So thank you very much indeed for your support there. We'll be back next week for another show. So have a great rest of the week.
And the last one before
weekend.
the 600. Woo!
And the last one before the 600, exactly. So, yeah, that's it from me in the home studio, from Matt in the Master Suite studios, from Nev in his home studio, from Andy in the pub studio, and from Nick in his Devon studio. Have a lovely rest of the week, and we'll see you next week. Say goodbye, Nev.
So, yes, see you, folks. Hope you have a nice rest of the week and the weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
There we go. All done.
Another one in the metal tin.
It was. Yeah. Agreed. All good.
Good show tonight. Well done, everyone. Well done to the chat room as well. Lots of good comments in the chat room tonight.
What's this? Trying to see when this label with May the 4th. Apparently there's this little light aircraft that flew into a building accidentally.
Jen Niffer says, great show. Glad I was able to catch it live.
Yeah. All good. Excellent. There we go. All right. I think that's all. Yeah, there we go. There's some good conversations had tonight, gents.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. When there's lots to talk about, things that are controversial, like 767s being low on the approach to Newark.
Yes.
And we have an aviation expert on the panel.
Yes. Be rude not to, wouldn't it?
So much more entertaining, doesn't it?
Yes. Be rude not to.
Who's the expert?
You know who it is.
Not a chance.
Okay. All right. Let's rephrase that slightly. Slightly more expert than the rest of us.
There you are.
Oh, I'll take that.
Yeah. A little bit more experience than the rest of us.
I wonder what the United Airlines unofficial WhatsApp channel was like after that incident occurred. Can you imagine? It would have just lit up with...
Knowing what pilots are like, I bet it's brilliant.
Dear.
Absolutely. It is a weird one, however you dress it up.
Oh,
I just couldn't believe how quickly the dash cam footage was released. It came out, well, not long after the incident happened. It was released.
Yeah.
That's the world we live in.
Yeah, the Blanca Lirio video shows an image from a security camera which is facing towards the lorry, and you can kind of see the landing gear clipping the side of the lorry. So it's quite, pretty amazing angle.
And the 764's got it's a triple bogey, isn't it, on the mins?
I'm not sure it
double
is.
Still,
but it's a double, but it's actually facing downwards.
Yeah,
it's canted
classic,
downwards, isn't it, on the 76?
Yeah.
So that went into that truck with maximum damage possible, I would think.
But I mean, we were saying before, weren't we? Like before we went on air. I mean, if he'd have been moving 1 mile an hour slower or faster,
yeah,
I think that could have been such a different story. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Awful, isn't it?
Yes, you're correct, Nev. It's just a double bogey, but it does lean forward on the 76.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the foot, or the track information online, where it shows you the height and speed the aircraft was travelling at when it went over that road. So it was travelling at 140 knots when it went over that road.
That's normal.
Yes, when they're going for their retraining, there'll be a very big PowerPoint slide. This is a displaced threshold, and these are the heights you need to be at to hit it.
Correct vertical profile, I think, will be the big thing that'll be getting covered there. Stable criteria, what not to do, workload management, flight path manual, situational awareness, decision making.
And
there's a lot of things there's a lot of things to cover there.
Yes, there's a full itinerary. Yes, absolutely. There's at least a month's worth of training in all that.
That's going to be a comprehensive 4-hour simulator session, I think.
Yeah, literally throw everything at them. Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes crews suffer from, or could suffer from, over familiarity with the airport, so that they go in and out of of Newark all the time on runway 29 where the weather's as it was?
Yeah,
and they just don't brief in as much detail as they should have done, perhaps?
Absolutely. See it all the time. Complacency is rife. If it's your home base, then you're expected to know how to fly into there. And again, they must. I know that visual approaches, even in large jetliners in the States, is very common. But there's part of me that just still always goes, this is... A lot of things can go wrong here. We need to make sure we brief this properly and have a get-out plan if it's not looking right. But that's the way I would do it.
Absolutely. Indeed. Well, as you say, I think the story will rumble on, and yeah, that's the only thing. It'd be good to sort of see. Sometimes we don't get to see the end result, do we? Which is a shame. Out of these,
the investigations take a long while for these things, but this one might be a little bit quicker, possibly.
Yeah, hopefully this is cut and dry.
Nigel. Oh, Nigel.
Indeed.
Right, we better let the YouTube family go. Nigel's just going to say hello first.
Nigel,
our resident
escape artist,
disappear for 2 days.
Looks very sleepy at the moment. It has.
Well, yeah. So would you if you disappeared for 58 hours last week?
Today,
he's been gone a short amount of time today.
Yeah. Okay.
Equivalent of 5 minutes in his.
I'd like to say he's learned his lesson, but
no, he hasn't. No, certainly not.
No.
Oh, do relax, Nigel, please. The state of that, honestly.
I think he's starving.
Yeah, Nigel's starving.
He's starving.
Excellent. Love that.
Right. Anyway, lovely to see all the chat room as always this week. Thanks again for tuning in. And Nev, do you want to sign off for tonight?
Yes, thanks so much for joining us this evening, everybody. Really good conversation in the chat room as usual. We'll be back 7 p.m. next week for show number 599, the one before the 600. So in the meantime, hope you have a great rest of the week and the weekend, and we'll see you next week. All the best. Bye for now.